There it is. There it is.
Welcome to the Mandatory Social Interaction Show. I'm your host, Eric, along with the symptomatic insert coin Tim.
Oh, yeah.
And the contagious Ben Burns.
I was going to say, I was going to get virulent or something, wasn't I? God.
How's it going, gentlemen?
It's going.
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm here.
Not too bad.
I'm awake. I'm alive.
How was everyone's week?
Too busy.
Yeah.
But good.
Agreed. Very busy.
Very good. Our office is being renovated right now, so it's full-time work from home for us for the next couple weeks.
I wish I could work from home.
It's the best thing in the world.
I wish I could work from home.
It's like I've gotten more work done this week than I have over the last month.
Yep. I tend to get a lot more work done when I work from home as well.
Mentally, I feel a lot more stable because I'm not spending an hour and a half in traffic every day.
Yeah, that would do it. That would do it for sure.
So yeah, actually, that was funny enough. That was going to be one of the topics today. Was
figured.
So and Tim, I guess you're not able to work from home for work, but for streaming, certainly, you are sitting there for 4 hours, 5 hours at a time, doing essentially a job. Ben and I have worked from home at least one day a week for the last several years. Yeah. And then now it's essentially permanent for the next month or two. So I was wondering, in terms of working from home, and this is applicable to streaming, basically anything you do at home.
Yeah.
What are the strategies to kind of stay productive and not just get distracted by everything else that needs to happen, and actually, I don't know, stay on task, or what's the problem? Not what's the problem, but what are the problems? What are the things you have a problem with?
Staying on task is definitely a big problem. When I work from home the one day a week, I don't have all of my gear set up because I have extra monitors, I have my keyboard and mouse and all that stuff. I just have my laptop usually. So staying focused then is a little bit more difficult, but now that I have my whole setup, I have all my monitors, I have my keyboard and everything else, I just have another desk over to my left. I don't even turn this computer on during the day. I just sit over there, I work, I listen to music, and I get a ton of stuff done. It's great. So yeah, distractions are tough, but honestly, I get distracted far more when I'm at work than when I'm at home, because it's an office environment. People are talking, and phones are ringing and all this other stuff, and it's very hard to stay focused. But
that's one of my big issues at work. I have people we have email, but people still come by my desk and interrupt what I'm doing. And the problem with when you're working on configurations and things like that, when you get interrupted and have to completely switch lanes, you totally lose your plot. And so my big problem is that when someone comes by my desk, I pretty much, in essence, have to start over where I was, because I have to figure out where I was, what I was doing, what I was modifying, what I was working on. And it's such a pain. And that'll happen 3-4 times an hour for me. So I barely get anything done some days. Yeah. And working from home, the very few times that I have, has been a godsend, because I can sit at my desk, set up my we use Citrix, which is a remote desktop type software for those who might not be familiar. And on one, because I have 2 PCs for my streaming, one of the PCs is dedicated for work, and the other I can have music listening to or whatever, and actually focus in and get some work done. It's really nice. So
yeah, it's great. And I know we're gonna talk to you in a second, Eric, but it's just going off what you said, Tim. It's the whole open office environment that we're moving to is really concerning for me because of that. Because
you're doing open offices?
Yeah,
it's the worst.
I think it'll be okay because our section's a little bit partitioned away from everybody else, but primarily I don't talk to anybody in person anyway. So it's all it's doing is inviting more background noise and visual noise and stuff. So I'm not looking forward to it. But Eric, I'd like to hear your take on this. I know we talked about it a little bit at work, but
yeah, I mean, my biggest problem is, working from home all the time. For me, I end up coming up like why there comes a point where I'm like, why am I leaving the house? And that's actually a problem. I'm actually, I've come up with some strategies for myself, to actually like get out of the house. Like literally I've got, I signed up for a painting class in a couple of weeks. Like I have a whole bunch of like things that are sitting on my calendar that are like, hey, here's an excuse to leave the house and actually go do a thing. Because I know I'll just basically never leave the house except to go get, to go get food and essentials, and that will be it.
Yeah.
Which isn't cool. Like that, that's not something I want to, that's not a thing that I actually want for myself, and that's a rut, a habit I will fall into. So for me, I'm definitely like, I actually do enjoy working from home. I don't have a problem with it. It's easy for a lot of people, it's easy to get distracted. And I know I tend to be very ADD when I'm working from home. I'll have everything going all at once. I'll have stuff going on my, like I'll have a video playing on my computer while I'm working and stuff like that. Like I tend to, and I guess I tend to be a background noise person.
Yep. I'm the same way.
So, so like and that's where Ben and I definitely differ, is like the background noise in the office, like I don't even notice. Unless someone is particularly loud, or like the one lady who loved to announce her credit card information over the cue walls.
Because she was buying stuff over the phone or something.
I think she was paying a bill or something and needed to, like she was on the phone with like the electric company and like was having a problem or something and was like, oh yeah, no, I can pay that now. Oh yeah, no, my card number is, 342-765. And I was I should be writing this down. Like, geez, so there's definitely pros and cons. Like for me, the social aspect of being at work is a lot of the socialization that I normally do. So that's why, like, for instance, I'm talking about excuses to leave the house is really trying to get out and actually like do some kind of social interaction. Because otherwise I literally will be just talking to the cats all day. Which is fine. I don't mind talking to the cats, but they're not really good conversationalists.
I mean, in my case, most of my interaction with people is done online anyways. At work, I work, I work directly with people, but quite honestly, I'd rather not.
Yeah.
if you've ever met, like, if you ever get the displeasure of meeting some of the folks at my work, they're IT folks who are less knowledgeable than some of the end users. So you can imagine the frustration and aggravation that comes with them coming by my desk and interrupting what I'm doing to ask very simple, easy questions that they could have Googled themselves. So it's I would much rather work at home and deal with something like Hip Chat or a Skype team or something like that, and do it in an instant messaging style, or even over like a WebEx type thing where I can completely focus in on where I can have my work going while I'm in, some kind of a video chat or something. Like, it's very frustrating where I work to get anything done. It's very difficult.
So
and that's what we use at work. We have Skype and we have WebEx, and I think that works great. Primarily because a lot of the people that we correspond with every day aren't in our office anyway. So it's like all of our meetings are going to be on WebEx anyway. Why can't I just do it from home?
No, the one thing that I definitely like, besides just generally being social at work, the other thing that I miss is collaborating with the rest of my team. Basically, like my team is more or less in the office, and Ben, I know you have a couple of people in the office as well. There's kind of nothing better than like literally being able to walk over to someone and actually have a conversation.
I guess that's
in terms of collaboration. Like
We
actually,
a little bit there.
well, I mean, like actually being able to walk over to someone's cube and say, like, hey, like we can actually talk about this. I can point at it on the screen. We can actually.
You're
like,
part
hash
of the
stuff out.
problem, Eric.
Hey,
I'm just kidding.
You know,
I'm just joking.
I mean, there is a difference between distraction and collaboration, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know, there's
Yeah. My big problem right now is the project that I'm working on is essentially a solo project. Like I've been doing
Yeah.
most of it myself,
And
so,
so-
I haven't had the need to talk to anybody
Right.
else. So it's like
that's a
really
whole
big-
different. Yeah, that's a whole
Yeah.
different thing.
Well,
You
and
know.
my team is 2 people strong, so
Yeah,
we could very easily work from anywhere else in the world and be fine.
yeah,
Because all of our stuff is virtual. We do no physical hardware stuff, so we're not network admins. We just handle application servers, and if something goes wrong with a virtual machine, it's on our network admins to fix anyways. So, like if the VM farm is having problems, some of the hardware's freaking out, we lose some memory, like that's on them to fix. It's not ours. So, for my team of 2, it's like we could work anywhere in the entire world and still be fine. It's just we don't get that option because the company doesn't want to have favoritism or anything like that on their lists, I guess.
and well, like, and for my, for the developers that I work with, they're often, since we're all working on the same project, they're often like, sitting in each other's cubes, and actually like, like literally face to face collaborating. So that's one thing that I'm actually concerned with my team is that they're going to be missing out on that. And they may find it to be less effective because when you Skype somebody, the window gets buried or they're busy with something else, they don't get back to you right away. Being face to face, there's a whole different kind of paradigm there.
Well, I can tell you that there are some companies out there that work entirely remote and they do extremely well. I mean,
sure.
The folks who make WordPress, that company is entirely remote all over the world, and they do some really good work.
I think Slack is too.
Yeah, I think Slack is most of those like really big Silicon Valley like startups lately that are completely cloud based often spread out all over the world to get better coverage on time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
there's what's the company that makes, there's a software called Basecamp, but I can't think of the name of the company. They were like the first fully remote company.
There's a company called Hotjar as well that's based out of like Malta, which is near Spain, and they operate all over the world as well.
Interesting. I mean, and so, and I'm not, and don't get me wrong, I'm certainly not saying that it's impossible. But when that's kind of what you have, you've had that for say 6 months or whatever, and now that's going away.
Right. I think it's a bit of mindset, right, and expectation, because once you get used to working one way, it's very difficult to change. And some people just aren't built to work from home.
Yeah.
Just how it is. Yeah. I mean, some people just don't do well working from a home environment. I mean,
well, yeah, especially if you have like 6 kids or whatever, and you have to deal with all the background noise there. It's no better than being in the office at that point.
Right.
And in some ways it's worse because when you have kids, and it doesn't need to be 6. 1 or 2 is good enough.
Hyperbole.
When no, but I mean, in all seriousness, like it doesn't take much, because that is a distraction you can't ignore.
Yeah.
At work, there are lots of distractions that you can, the guy on the cube next door is being loud, and you put your headphones on and you can ignore it. But when stuff is happening with kids, it's like you've got to be able to like let it go and go be distracted. And I know a bunch of people who are not happy about working from home for this couple of months for literally that reason. And so,
yeah. It really depends on everybody's situation. I like it, but I like a very quiet environment that I have a control over. So that's just me.
Oh yeah, no, and that's why I wanted.
There's no correct answer here.
That's why I wanted to bring this up, is because it's really interesting.
Well, that's why I really want to do live streaming, is because I've proven to myself that I can work from home and get stuff done when I really, really need to. So it's like, now that I know I can do it, I really want to go full-time content creation, because I've been in a routine of a bunch of stuff for quite some time now that is like, most people are like, I can't get a routine going for work. I can't. And it's like, I'm fine. Let's bring it on. Let's do this.
Yeah. And I noticed that this week, working from home, I feel a lot more energized to actually stream after work.
Yep.
I haven't had the opportunity to because of other things going on, but it's like when I don't have to deal with that commute on the way home, that drains a lot more energy out of me than I thought. Because like I get done with work here and I'm like, all right, let's get the rest of the day going. And when I have to drive home, I just feel like crap, and I just don't want to do anything. So I think commuting is really my biggest enemy.
I think my favorite thing about working again, I don't get to work from home often, but when I do, my lunch break, I can either take a nap or grab a quick sandwich and watch TV or something and just relax. Like, it's way different than work, where I either have to go sit in the cafe, or I have to drive to go get food, or I have to sit at my desk and then people are harassing me while I try to eat. And that's my least favorite, is when when I go to my desk, because like I don't want to go and sit and stare at a wall in the cafe or somewhere else. Like, I want to go sit and listen to a podcast or something like that on my computer, because I have pretty decent headphones there. And it annoys me to no end when people come by my desk and they're like, sorry, I see you're eating, but can you do this real quick? It's like, can you shove my food up your butt? Like, leave me alone.
No. Why would you do that? You're eating
exactly. That's my point, is they need to not do that. They need to go away and let me eat my food. So it's very frustrating that is the norm for a business, is the work comes before the people. And that's not atypical for just where I work. Like, more often than not, it's about bottom line and getting stuff done, and people will put their jobs ahead of your need to relax or unwind, and it's very annoying.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I'm a little weird in that regard, is that the commute doesn't bother me at all, and I know I have a longer one than Ben. I don't know about your commute, Tim.
About 8 minutes.
Yeah. So the commute for you is nothing. Like, the commute for me, just, it doesn't bother me. I don't really care that there's traffic. I don't care if it's slow. It is what it is. I'm not in a hurry to get to work, and I'm not in a hurry to get home. So it's like, whatever. I put on some podcasts and I just deal with whatever's coming my way. And like, I essentially, even though I'm driving, I basically check out for my commute. It's like, because the best thing about the commute is there's nothing else you can do other than like listen to podcasts. So it's a great time to do that.
Right.
So that's
when I listen to mine on my, even though it's a short drive, I listen to podcasts on the way there and on the way back.
And my other problem is it takes me forever to actually wake up. Get out of bed is one thing. Wake up is a whole nother like story. Yep. So having the commute, that like 45 minutes of like no one bothering me, no one talking to me, just me and a podcast. Like, by the time I get to work, I'm actually like awake and ready to talk to people.
My problem is driving makes me exhausted. It makes me really tired. So when I get to work, I'm like, I'm ready to take a nap. I'm just like, okay,
really,
I'm
even
done.
After 8 minutes, even after like a wow.
I driving any kind of transit. If you ever go to anything with me, like I will just pass out. Like, on our trip to Japan, I slept for like 8 hours of the 14-hour flight, like, and it was uncomfortable as heck. But it's just like, you get me in a vehicle, like a bus or whatever, and I can just pass out. Like, I get really bad like road hypnosis when I drive at night. So it's not good, but it is what it is. I just get something about travel makes me sleepy. So
yeah. And pizza, don't get me wrong, it's not that I'm driving while I'm asleep. I'm awake enough to drive and function and make coffee and like do stuff, but it's in terms of like mentally being like ready to deal with the world. It's like, it takes me a couple hours to actually be like mentally in a place where I can talk to people.
For me, it takes about an hour. I get to work at 7, and it's early, so not a lot of people are in the office. And so unless there is an actual like issue, like we're having a a P1 issue or a P0 issue where we've got to like totally focus in and get it done, it's usually very calm. Not a lot of people are around. Not a lot of people are bothering me, so I get to like drink my coffee and just like read my emails and wake up. So it's a great way to start the day, because otherwise, like, people have come over to my desk at like 7:10 right when I'm walking through the door, and I'm like, go away.
Yeah, totally.
You don't want to be around me right now. Just send me an email and I'll do it at my pace. I have a list of things to do.
And I think for me, it's a what do you call it? A body clock issue. Like, I've always been like a night person. So getting up early and getting up in the morning and going to work is like totally the antithesis of what my body wants to do. Yep. So it means that waking up for me is super slow. It's like, I wake up, this is going to sound bad, and I don't mean it literally, but I wake up drunk. Like,
no, I do too. I'm the same way. I understand completely.
Yeah, I've had that, but mostly when I take naps, sometimes I wake up and I just I can't do anything. I just feel like I'm awake. I can't sleep, but I can't walk. I just don't feel like I want to do anything.
Oh yeah, no, I get up and I'm like, and it doesn't matter what I've done the night before. I could literally drink water for days.
Yep.
As soon as I wake up in the morning, I am just like completely.
I'm a zombie.
Yeah, I'm like
I'm
out
a
of
total
it.
Zombie.
Like I kind of stumble to the bathroom and like, take a shower and sort of kind of wake up, and then like, start getting dressed and like wake up a little more and have some, either have some coffee or like, get some coffee on the way and wake up a little more. And like, takes me a good 2 hours.
I went to the doctor's yesterday pretty much for that. I was like, I'm always exhausted and I barely sleep and I snore really bad and all this stuff. So I'm actually going to do a sleep study to see if I'm getting really bad sleep. So that'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
Oh yeah, no, I did a sleep apnea study about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. The process was they like hook up a bunch of diodes to your head so they can measure your brainwave activity and all this other stuff. And I mean, they found out that I was waking up either just a little bit or a lot, like 10 or 20 times an hour while I slept. And it's just like, well, no wonder I'm not getting good sleep.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, it's rough. But that stuff helps. And I had a CPAP machine, which back then they were this big noisy. It's like having a fan attached to your head.
Yeah.
But I think these days, like more recently, CPAP machines have gotten a lot more comfortable. Which
I've heard that.
Yeah. So I don't think it's really that bad of a thing now, like compared to what it was 10 years ago when I had to deal with it. So
yeah.
Hopefully it works for you.
Yeah, I hope so, because that's what the doctor thinks it might be, is sleep apnea. So it's not a good thing, but it is something that is manageable. So
yeah, exactly.
And if it helps me sleep, oh my god, I honestly think that if I'm rested in the mornings, I can rule the world. So
yeah,
because it's like when I have the few days I have energy, I'm on top of it. I get stuff done and everything, but I just sleep like crap. Even if I sleep for 10, 12 hours, I still sleep like crap. So I just feel awful. And it's like, I'm always exhausted. I'm always tired. I take a nap when I get home from work and that helps. But, it's like theoretically, you should be able to go for 14, 16 hours a day without sleep. Theoretically, you should only need 8 hours of sleep. That's the theory, the idea behind it. And I mean, I get about 8 hours of sleep spread out across the day, but like I know people who work on less sleep than me and they work just fine. And it's like, what's wrong with me that's causing the problem? Like,
you're getting
it's not
old.
an energy thing. Yeah, I'm getting old. That too. But it's not just an energy thing. It's something to do with the way I'm sleeping, or something is wrong. So
yeah, I went for a sleep study, I don't know, 10 maybe 12 years ago, something like that. But they did not find that I had sleep apnea at the time. So apparently I'm just doomed to wake up drunk every morning. So, whatever. It's fine. I mean, it's not like it's actually a problem, but like, when we talk about a commute, it's like, oh yeah, no, that time, like working from home is fine, right? Like you come downstairs and like there's no one bugging you for an hour or two, so it doesn't matter. But working at the office, it's like, yeah, that commute is like actually, I've had commutes that were too short, and it drove me nuts. Where it's like,
man.
I get up and I roll out of bed and I get dressed and I go to work and I'm at work in 10 minutes and it's like, crap, what do I do now? I don't want to talk to anyone and yet I'm here.
Yep.
So
well, we have the episode name for today, Eric the Morning Drunk.
Yeah, pretty much.
It writes itself, man. It writes itself.
So there it is. But anyway, yeah, I mean, working from home is not bad. I think for most people, they probably need to, getting back to the topic, I suppose, it's something you got to work out for yourself, how you're going to.
Having a structured environment probably helps a lot of people.
Yeah, having a separate, I think what helps a lot of people is having, like, literally a separate work location in their house.
Yeah.
Like, people who work from home all the time typically do something like that, where they have a work office or at least a work desk that's not the same as their, gaming desk where they're, playing Forza or whatever. And, they're actually just able to focus on work without having that distraction.
Yeah.
Well,
And
for me, sitting
over here is where I sit and where Christine sits when we do our dual streams. So it's like it's nearby, but it's not the same desk. It's not the same view area.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a different change for me.
Yeah. So
well, for me, my desk and my studio room desk, I only use for streaming. Really, I'll occasionally play games, but usually I'm recording a podcast or editing something or putting something together. So there's a lot of work that happens at this desk. So in my brain, this desk is my work desk, whether I play games at it or not. If I want to watch TV or bum out or watch a movie or whatever, I'm in the living room on the couch. So
yeah,
it's a completely different mindset for me.
So something else to talk about this week, I was interested in it, and Tim did a segment of his podcast on this, so I thought maybe we'd bring this up, and that is...
Wait, Tim has a podcast?
Tim has a podcast. Let me tell you about my podcast.
Don't tell anyone.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Don't tell anyone. It's a secret. But no, the Intercoin Theater podcast is on Anchor.
I just got a new logo put out for it.
Anchor.fm/ICT. You can go check it out there. And I think it's also available iTunes, Stitcher, all those places as well.
New episode records tomorrow.
So, but last week's episode, half of it was about Forza, but the other half was about selling out. And I thought maybe we'd talk about that a little bit. So one thing I wanted to mention that I think Tim briefly touched on in the episode, but I wanted to talk about a little bit is the definition of selling out. And I think there are multiple definitions, and I'm going to kind of explain the one that I understand to be selling out, and that doesn't mean that it applies for everybody, but this is my understanding. And the best way I can do that is with an example, like a hypothetical here. The way I learned selling out was if you have, let's say, a punk band, and they've put out 4 punk albums, and the punk kind of, music community thinks they're pretty great, but they really aren't known outside of that community, and those albums have, reasonable sales for a niche market, right? And then all of a sudden, album number 5 comes out, and it is super, super poppy, right?
Thank you, Carbonic. I was thinking the same thing.
It's not Green Day. I'm not even talking about Green Day. I love Green Day. Don't even start with Green Day. This is not about a specific band.
Yeah, I know it's not, but that's what I was thinking.
I love Green Day. Don't even start that crap, Carbonic.
So,
but my point being that they come out with a pop album, whatever this band is, and all of a sudden they get a million, they get a huge mainstream success. They would be considered by that punk community to have sold out. Because they used to make like really great punk music, but now all they make is pop trash, and they sold out. Right? And I can give an example that's not Green Day. The Green Day. Now they're for normies. There you go, Carbonic. And the example I can give is actually Genesis. I don't know if anybody knows early Genesis back in the day, they were this like progressive rock band. And if you listen to all the Genesis albums like straight through, they're like these really trippy prog rock, like really out there, super like weird. And then, when you get out of the, sort of towards the late 70s and into the 80s, especially like Invisible Touch, they basically went from prog rock to pop music. And so, I mean, a lot of, I think, early 70s fans felt like they had sold out a bit. Now, that being said, I like all of Genesis, the prog rock stuff and the pop stuff, so I don't really, for me, it's not a thing. But, like,
well, okay, so the big thing from my perspective is it's such a subjective term, because who is to say that somebody sold out because they want to further their art or change the way that their art works? Like, pop music has its own merit. There's a reason it's so popular, and that's because it has its own merit. There's a reason for other stuff. Like, just because it's not some niche genre doesn't mean it's any less good or less valuable. And that's part of what I never really like from the artist perspective. Like, I can say, if you're, in my opinion, you're selling out. In my view, you're selling out if somebody waves a bunch of cash in your face and says, stop making prog rock, start making pop, and it wasn't your decision to do it in the first place, and it wasn't your idea. It was like somebody else wanted to change what you were doing and modify you based on money. That's literally selling out. Somebody is buying you to do something different.
Or changing your creative direction specifically because of trends.
Yeah, or money, or
money.
And that's the assumption, right? That's the audience assumption about selling out is that, maybe it's not that the record company waved a bunch of money in your face and you went like, oh yeah, no, I'm totally gonna, make a pop album now. It's that, somebody woke up one day, Phil Collins woke up one day and went, we're making a little bit of money doing this prog rock stuff, but if we did some pop music, we'd really rake in the dough. And the assumption is that they're changing their stance or changing their creative output based on what they feel like is going to make money.
Right. Well, from the perspective of one of my favorite bands, Relient K, they started out as a Christian punk band a long time ago. Don't ask questions. It's been a very long time. But that said, they started out as a Christian punk band. They moved into alternative, where they were started like weaving in like acoustic guitars and banjo and just all sorts of weird stuff to really like further their art. And they made like a complete pop album one time, and a whole bunch of people were like, wow, what a bunch of sellouts. And it's like, it's a really good album, and it's them. It's still their writing and it was completely their call, and they didn't do it for money because they're still not popular. So they just do what they do because they love it. And so it drives me nuts that the standard for selling out is just making a change for most viewers or listeners or whatever. And that's where it gets very frustrating, is because from a streamer perspective, it's kind of the same deal, right? If you get a sponsorship, you become a partner or whatever, a lot of times you get called a sellout. And it's like, you're not selling out if you're trying to make this your career. Like, do you want me to succeed or not? Like, I could not succeed and never make it anywhere and then just give up later because it's not worth my time. Or I can make some money off of it and actually have it pay the bills, which means that I can do it and enjoy it more thoroughly. Because, if I'm not eating, I'm not having a good time. I'm sorry. So it's one of those deals that's like very frustrating to find that like balance as a creator or an artist or whatever. And if it happens a lot of times in streaming, especially because it's still kind of new media and people are kind of trying to figure out what is a big change that's brought on specifically because of money. Because there are, in my view, and I have to preface it with that because this is a very subjective topic, there are sellouts. There are people, like, I would say Ninja is a giant sellout. The dude was like a variety broadcaster who was really good at games, and now he only plays Fortnite. He does advertisements for Samsung, like all this crap. Like, that sort of thing is very obvious to me. Like, you can't play the same game for, a year and a half, 2 years, and, tell me that completely changing your style and what games you're playing and stuff specifically for money isn't a sellout. That's just me. That's my.
Yeah, and there have been streams where I log in and it's just like these people have like big animated like Radeon logos and stuff in their stream, and it's like this. I want to watch gameplay. I don't want to be reminded of what software and what hardware you use. It's like I think that once you start compromising like the integrity of the work that you're creating, whether that's music or anything else, for the purposes of like making money.
Yeah,
it's a slippery slope because you do have to do that to some degree, but you have to do that in a way that respects both you as an artist and your audience.
absolutely.
And it's not easy, and that's why it's so subjective, because every situation is different.
I think from a viewer perspective, it's really important to keep in mind that a change for a change for content or the style of content is not necessarily a change for the sake of making money.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you just want to change what you're doing. Sometimes you get tired of it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
and that
right
may
now
not be selling out. But one thing I wanted to ask you, Ben, is what is the alternative? Like, and let's turn that around a little bit and say the guy who's got the giant Radeon logo on his overlay, what is he supposed to do when that's the way he makes money?
Well, maybe bargain with the Radeon people to not have it so obvious and obtrusive and gaudy. I don't know. And again, maybe he doesn't care. Maybe him and his audience don't care. But when I logged into that stream, I was just like, this is stupid. It's just it's like a NASCAR like car. It's just full of logos and garbage. And it's like, I don't care about this stuff. I'm here to look at content, not advertising. So yeah, it really depends. And going off with what you just said, Tim, I've been working on like a little bits donation system for my stream, not because I expect to make any money off of it. It's just I think that it's a fun little programming project, and that's it. And I'm curious to see what people think about it when I put it out. Just because, well, yeah, I'm asking for bits, but it's only for optional fun things anyway.
Right. And the struggle is the same with my stream. Like, I do donation goals because I want to be able to do stuff, and interact with my community in a physical way. Like right now, my donation goal on my stream is for PAX South, and I can't go unless somebody is. I can't go at all unless somebody is. What are you doing, Ben?
You wanted a microphone. I thought your goal was the microphone.
Not right now. I had to switch it because PAX South is a little more pressing. It's closer. But that said, the goal is for PAX South right now, and the challenge is some people hate donation goals because they see it as begging for money. Mm-hmm. But I can't go unless people donate, and it's an easy way to remind folks that you're helping me do this. Like, you are the reason I can go to these things. So it's kind of that balance of finding what turns people off versus what people don't care about. And overall, my community doesn't give a crap. They don't care. Like, they're like we like to see these goals because it means you're trying to do stuff. It means you're motivated and you want to make this work. And people that come from the outside are like, oh, I hate that. And it's like, well, tough. My community likes it, and that's all that matters. So it's ultimately like finding that balance between what people like and what turns people off entirely and what drives people away, that sort of stuff. So I think it's really important to keep that in mind when you're doing stuff like that, like you said with the bits thing.
And in terms of advertising, so that's one way that streamers can make money, is just direct donation through subs or donations or whatever, right? And Tim, not that I'm saying you're making money off of that. I get what you're doing with it. But the other way that streamers make money is advertisement. And you need to put those ads, you've got to put that stuff in front of people somehow. And I'm not saying that this person's giant Radeon logo is the right way, but there's, how do you do it without being accused of selling out? And how do you do it in a natural way, right? Because otherwise, that giant Radeon logo clearly may be the wrong way to go, right?
For me, it might be just fine for him. I don't know. And he seemed to be doing just fine. So.
Oh no! I'm not trying to pick on your example, but I guess what I'm trying to get to is a bigger is a bigger point about, advertising, where it's like you've got to kind of strike this balance of it's got to be in front of people. Like, NVIDIA, or not NVIDIA, AMD wants that Radeon logo to be somewhere, right? They want you to get it out there somehow, right? And that's why they're paying you. And so if you want to continue working with them, you've got to do something. So I guess, it kind of comes down to where's that balance between, appropriate advertising on your stream versus, essentially, if we consider the giant Radeon logo to be sold out, right? Where's the balance to get Radeon some value for their advertising dollars?
So believe it or not, I actually had a conversation with a buddy of mine about this almost exact topic. So one of the things that I'm looking into doing is potentially doing sponsored streams that are sponsored by like local businesses and things like that, like small, like artists, stuff like that, that they spend a small amount and they get kind of like a billboard type thing in the middle of, like, when I take a break, like say once an hour when I take a break to go to the bathroom, get a drink, whatever. I pause and then I'll either say something, like do a small little ad read and be like, hey guys, got to pay the bills, but here we go. And making it mine, but also delivering things because it's a helping to pay for what I'm doing type deal. So rather than just making it some rotating faceless AMD logo, which I am guilty of as well, but it's because of my partnerships and I'm proud of my partnerships. But I don't make money off of those.
Stream. I don't know.
No. So for me, it's like I'm proud of my partnerships and who I work with, but it is a change that I'm looking at making anyways. But ultimately, my goal is to deliver these kind of sponsored or paid for kind of moments in a way that is uniquely me. Like ultimately, I'd love to make really goofy videos, kind of like we did, like Burger did for the Extra Life thing that you had at your place that we did. So stuff like that for every advertiser would be awesome. But again, it comes down to how much time do I have? How much money am I making off of those? Like, is it worth my time and my while? But ultimately, you have to present it in a way that says, guys, look, I understand nobody likes ads, but this keeps the lights on. This keeps me doing this from a perspective of I can't buy food if I'm doing this. If I can't afford to go buy food, I'm gonna have to stop doing this and go work a second job, that sort of thing. And I'm not saying I have to do that, but I know there are people out there who rely on it fully and they can't do anything about it. And it's like they have to keep the lights on somehow.
And
so,
the way that you talked about it and presented it, it's more personal.
Yes.
And maybe one of the things that bugged me about the whole Radeon thing was that it was just a logo and it was just there to distract you from what was going on screen, rather than him talking about it, being like, hey, this is what I have on my computer, this is why I like it. It's just like, here, look at this. Just look at this until you go buy one. And it's like, no, I don't. Maybe it was just so impersonal, and that might have been why it turned me off from it. But it was definitely one thing that caught my eye, and I was just like, this is really dumb, and I just didn't stay very, very long. But again, he also had like 600 people watching him, so he seems to be doing pretty well for himself anyway.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like, I'm not a huge fan of that style, even though, like I said, I do it myself, but I didn't know of any better way to do it. And personally, I'm always trying to evolve what I do. So sometimes things are a misstep, sometimes things are annoying, sometimes things don't work, and that's something I'm working on. So
it's a process.
It is a process. But when you get to the point of having 600 concurrent viewers, I don't think you have as much of an excuse. So,
well, I mean, yeah, but when you have those 600 concurrent viewers, I mean, that is the reason to put the giant Radeon logo on the screen, right? That is what you're selling to AMD and saying, hey, I got, a huge number of concurrent viewers, or I guess that's a medium to large, right?
Yep.
I mean, I see people with 3,000, 5,000,
those are massive though.
Yeah.
Those are huge.
But still, regardless, it's like, hey, I can sell you these eyeballs, and that's what advertising is. So, there has to kind of be a weird balance between, you know, and
Absolutely.
what's funny is, you know, Ben, I know I seem like I'm picking on your example, but that stuff turns me off too. If when I go to the Twitch homepage, I very rarely ever stay on anything that they're shoving in my face, because it's so like overly advertised and processed, and it's like I'd rather, you know, I want to go see the streamers like Tim who are, you know, like actually like, you know, engaging and interacting, and not just like, you know,
It's not shilling.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like shilling, exactly. You know, and how much of that is, you know, kind of inevitable. I mean, the more money there is to be made, the more, you know, the more likely someone is willing to take over half the screen with some kind of giant advertisement,
and that,
you know,
and that onus is on the artist. And if they do that, people will accuse them of selling out because he's compromising what he's doing. And I mean, that's the thing. Selling out has two different sides to it. There's the one on the artist side, and then there's the one on the perception of the fan side. And and they do not have any kind of parity at all.
Yeah,
right.
Like the artist can sell out by compromising their creative output through the pursuit of money, and the fan side of it is just like, if they start making something that the fan doesn't like, that might be considered selling out. Like there's no one-to-one like connection between those two. It's kind of the same word for a different thing.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's difficult to nail down for a lot of reasons, because it's all very personal.
Well, I don't think you can really nail it down, but as an artist, so I mean, your audience doesn't have a responsibility to you, right?
No, right.
In other words, your audience is free to say, oh, you know what, I used to like such and such, but now I don't anymore, for whatever reason they want. So as an artist, what do you need to do? What do people need to do to maybe combat the idea that they are selling out? Because I mean, and you're right. Sometimes some audience members will perceive any change as selling out, right? You're a country artist, you come out with a pop song, that's selling out, even if it's not. Even if it's like, no, I just kind of wanted to do this particular song, or I wanted to take my music in a different direction. Like even if it has the purest of motivation, you know, there's still going to be some element of the audience that perceives any change artistically as selling out, or any amount of advertising is you sold out. But
I mean, in that case, that as an artist, that's not my problem. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to.
But at the same time, as an artist without an audience, you're not making money. So there's got to be a balance there of how do you control that perception a little bit.
Well, a lot of that is social perception too. I mean, if you take a look at the way that we've been trained, I think part of the resurgence of the part of the surge of dislike of advertisement of any kind is because television has done it so ham-fistedly for so long, and we all kind of realize how big of a scam that was after seeing things like Netflix, where, you know, you pay $80 a month for cable, and then they throw advertisements at you every 3 minutes, and it's, well, maybe every 10 minutes, but still they throw advertisements on top of the premium you're paying for this stuff, when Netflix is doing it for one flat rate.
Yeah,
so,
I heard that Netflix is toying with the idea of adding ads, though.
Oh, are they? Well,
yeah,
that would make me very unhappy. But then again, there's a lot of options now, and I can move on to a different streaming service. Or go back to piracy. That said, I'd rather not do that. I'd rather pay for the products that I'm getting. Yeah. So ultimately, it comes down to advertising is something that has really turned a lot of people off. But I would say the vast majority understand that as a small creator or as an individual creator, you sometimes have to do things to keep the lights on.
Mm-hmm. So, and there are ways to make advertising entertaining as well.
Yep.
I mean,
and that's what I'm trying to figure out.
The whole Old Spice ads from a couple years ago, it's like, those were funny. Those did a very good job selling Old Spice because they were entertaining and they actually had thought behind them.
Absolutely.
So I guess to equate it, like the Radeon logo thing would be like a car salesman ad, where it's just like, hey, look at this, hey, look at this, hey, look at this. It's like, no, we don't care That's not something I care about.
Well, you tune it out, and then you end up tuning out the content because it's so closely tied with the content being made. And that's a big problem, and that's something that the artist needs to figure out, the content creator needs to figure out themselves, because in my opinion, that's very limiting to your audience, especially if you're looking for specific kinds of growth that aren't community related. If you're looking specifically for just straight numbers growth, you're doing a disservice to yourself by doing that. Yeah.
And I should mention something that Carbonic said is like, if a band wants to take their main sound in a different direction, the best thing is to like release it under a different name. And Eric, you replied in chat that then they'd lose a bunch of the audience, which I agree with. And I think that it's important, if you're a band, or at least this has been working for me, that if you make music, make a variety of music right out the gate. And just like, don't limit yourself to one type of thing. Just like with you, Tim, like being a variety streamer brings in a lot of different types of people, because they want to watch you. They don't want to watch Fortnite.
Right.
So it's like, if you're just doing one thing, you're severely limiting yourself, and you make your community much less flexible to your changes.
Yes.
So that's when people start thinking that you're selling out, because you start changing. But if you're always changing, then it's a lot harder to consider that you're selling out, because, well, he's just moving in a different direction right now. And I think that it's important to stay flexible, creatively, to help combat that. And I mean, I can't say that it's been working well for me, because it's not like I'm a huge name or anything. But
I mean, same here. But yeah, it's a path that's harder to take.
Yeah.
Because it's not the direct path to popularity. It's not the easy route. And I know so many people are like, but creating Fortnite content and growing as a Fortnite streamer isn't the easy way. And it's like,
well, not anymore.
Well, not anymore, but it was for a while. And on MIntrovrt, it still is. And I don't mean to speak out against it. Like, I don't mean I don't like yucking on people's yum. I say that a lot because I don't like doing it. But it's also really important to look at metrics. Look at how many, and I'm speaking from my Mixer perspective here, but how many streamers on Mixer became huge solely because of Fortnite. That's the only reason they gained the traction that they did, and the reason that they have like 100,000 followers. And the reason, and they keep playing the same game. Whereas I play a huge mix of games, and yeah, it limits my audience. I sit between 20 and 60, but it is what it is. Like, I am okay with that, because that's the path that I've taken. However, once I hit, a big point and I can do this full time, it's not going to matter what I play. I can be much happier with my content. I'm not beholden to the viewers to play what they want me to play, which would be Fortnite. If I were playing Fortnite, I get to play what I want to play, and people will still show up for that. Yeah. And that's a huge difference. It's a huge deal. So,
yeah, it's slow growth versus the quick, like
the firework.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah. And the thing is, if you build a community quickly, you're not building a community. The people aren't there for that. They're there for the content. They're not there for you. And then that's not really building a community around you. Right. That's just having people migrate from one stream to another, depending on, who's playing Fortnite or whatever game is popular at that time. So
yeah. So, well, guys, geez, we were going to do picks, but man, we are already pushing an hour here. So I think we've reached our social interaction quota for the week.
Good. I don't want to deal with you guys anymore this week.
Ben Burns, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me online at Twitch, Twitter, Patreon, and YouTube at Ben_Burns. That's BURNES.
And Tim, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Mixer and Twitch and Facebook at Insert Coin Theater, and you can find me on Twitter at Insert Coin Tim.
Shaka.
And hey Shaka. Also, Insert Coin Theater on Instagram. Forgot to mention that. Also, check out the Insert Coin Theater Discord, discord.gg/ICT. And where can they find you, Eric?
You can find me on Twitter at ZaxxisEMK, on Twitch at twitch.tv/ZaxxisEMK, and on YouTube at youtube.com/EricKleinCreate. The show is available on, we'll start there. The show is available on Stitcher, Google Play, iTunes, and wherever fine podcasts are sold. Our website is MandatorySocial.com. Our streaming overlay was created by Maris, MIntrovrt, Alicke. That's you can find more of Maris's work at marisalicke.bandcamp.com. The theme song is Protofunk by Kevin Macleod. You can find that at Incompetech.com. And the background music that I will put in post is by Ben Burns. You can find more of Ben's music at abstractionmusic.com. Have a good week, everybody.